Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Today, it's not exactly corruption, I'm not too sure, although everything seems to lead towards corruption in our beautiful country nowadays. We're looking at some cold cases, and here I'm talking about a whole battery of murder/assassination cases that have gone in the past. As you know, recently, the president is reported to have directed the police to reopen the Bola Ige case, as well as the it's the Bola Ige case and one other. But as accolades have, followed that particular idea, declaration, instruction, and directive, there have been calls for, well, please, don't leave this whole matter at the case of Dikibo and Bola Ige alone. Can this be extended? Various public figures have commented that there are others, too, that need similar attention. But here we are. The police have been ordered to reinvestigate, in other words, open what must be a cold case to the police, or cold cases. And there was cheering news that the police have commenced the process by calling for the files, trying to retrieve the files, all of this with an idea to looking at everything again, confessional statements, the whole case files, and perhaps, definitely looking for new or fresh leads in the case. When police go over things like that, they just might catch or stumble on something that they might possibly have missed before. So all of that was heartwarming, that, well, it looks like the purpose of justice will be served. But because in the case of Bola Ige, he was Attorney General of the nation at the time, and the unfortunate assassination occurred because, I don't know, it goes beyond murder. Assassination occurred, and till as we speak, no suspect, no conviction. So there's a sense in which no justice on that particular matter. We have someone who is an insider professional, albeit in a retired capacity, but someone who knows about the police and cold cases, because he's indeed a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. And by now, we thank God that our father is founder and Archbishop of Jesus Family Ministry Church International. I'm talking about retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, His Grace Reverend Chris Omeben. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
Our pleasure, Your Grace. And sitting right next to him, no religious credentials whatsoever, is Nwaguma. Okay, Nwaguma is an activist. He's a coordinator of NOPRIN, Network on Police Reform in Nigeria. Okay, he's a friend of the house. Thank you very much. I'm not sure that you're pursuing any religious qualifications at the moment.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Indeed, we're very happy to have you. Okay, yeah. Your Grace, as a retired Inspector General of Police, could you sort of enlighten us a bit on the notion that a lot of Nigerians can't understand? Let me just, for instance, you were the Deputy Inspector General of Police, in charge of the case, I guess you'll correct me where I say anything wrong, in the case of the Dele Giwa murder. And you weren't just the DIG in charge, you weren't even the first. What are the challenges that lead eventually to police finding a case going cold on their hands?
Well, thank you very much for that question. When Dele Giwa was murdered or assassinated, whatever term we decide to use, I was AIG Research at Force Headquarters of Balende, Lagos. I got promoted to DIG, and the man who was in Alagbon, late Victor Palm, was the man in charge when Dele Giwa was murdered. He was doing the case. Then
And when you say that, you mean investigating?
Investigating, yes. So when I was promoted DIG, the authorities decided to swap the DIGs.
Okay.
I was transferred to Alagbon, Palm was transferred to B-Ops and all of that things.
And this happens in the police
regularly.
It's a regular practice.
That's right.
Okay.
And I got to Alagbo, I took over from Mr. Victor Palm, what he had done, showing the stage he had reached in the investigation, showing some problem, disclosing some areas of retardation, difficulties that he had encountered. So I said, well, I think that would be a good area to start from.
Okay.
And when I took over, I looked at it. I said, the first thing is, let me visit the scene of crime. Because in every investigation, a good investigator should start from the center of the circle and move to the perimeter.
Okay. This was, sorry for interrupting you, Your Grace. This was about how long after the actual murder? Months, years?
Some months after the murder.
Okay.
So I got my officers to follow me there. I got there, so I went to the house, I viewed it, and saw what Mr. Palm had written in the paper, that it was true. There was a gatehouse, there was this duplex. One side of it was occupied by Reku, another side by Delegiwa, and went into the sitting room where the parcel bomb was said to have been delivered. I saw it. I saw the shattered windows that led to the toilet. I looked at it and I wrote down some questions. Was there anybody around when this thing was delivered? They said yes. Who was the person? I was given the name. I said, okay. And the name coincided with the name in the report. I said, where was this man? He didn't die. He said he didn't die. That he said he was hiding in the toilet. He went to the toilet. I thought, this makes it interesting. Mm-hmm. The glasses of the toilets were all shattered. The iron rails were shattered. And inside the toilet, somebody of flesh and blood, nothing happened to him. I would love to see this man. That was just it. Where is he? Where is he? Nobody could tell me where he was. I called upon...
Did they know who he was?
They knew.
Okay.
He was a worker in Newswatch.
Okay, the magazine that Delegiwa worked for.
That's right. Reku was also a Newswatch worker.
Both of them were directors.
Both of them were there.
In that
and I think the station, whether he came from London, I don't know whether he was an off-country
the journalist.
That's right.
Kayode.
That's right. So I said, I would love to see Kayode to let me know whether he was wearing a bulletproof jacket.
Okay, that was the man who was said to be in the toilet.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I want to know something about him. Maybe he could give us a lead. I tried and tried and tried. Nobody will cooperate. Nobody will even invite him.
But did you invite him, sir? Did the police invite him?
I invited him. I said I wanted.
Okay,
I told
so you actually invited
Yes, I said him. I told the co-workers.
Okay, that you'd like to speak with this witness.
With this man. There's one reason led to another reason why he wasn't available, another reason. So after some time, I was fed up. Mm. Then we tried. We found that man's evidence was very key, and because I couldn't lay hands on that man, theories started to emerge. Oh, this Delegiwa was killed with a parcel bomb sent from Durham Barracks. What was the proof? They said the bomb or the package that contained the bomb had a federal government logo on it, and therefore it must have been from federal government.
Apart from the issue of the person alleged to have delivered it.
Delivered it. I didn't see that as a wonderful evidence.
Okay.
Because I don't work in TVC, but if I want to be mischievous, I can get a TVC logo, place it on anything, and send it off. And people will say, well, it's from TVC. But it's not true.
Okay.
So I said, well, I would like to give a...
Although you did not come to any judgment at the time.
No.
But, okay.
But this was at the back of my mind.
Sure.
We tried. They said, oh, 1 or 2 military officers must have been involved. They were the agents. They invited Dele Giwa a fortnight or a month before this incident happened. They spoke on phone. I called 2 of the officers. They came, they made statements, and they said, no, it's true, we talked with him. And the discussion we held with him was in respect of an article which Dele Giwa wrote about Nigeria in a foreign newspaper, that they felt he was painting us black to the Americans. I said, okay, put it down. The man put it down in writing. Well, after that, I was calling on production of the,
Mr. Soyinka.
Soyinka. He was not forthcoming. Not forthcoming. As I pressed, there was, oh, Chris Omeben has got some vested interests. Babangida has given him money, and that's why he doesn't want to follow our lead. We have concrete evidence that Babangida was the one that sent the bomb. Oh, it could be so painful if you are doing your job wholeheartedly, and you are expecting cooperation from people who you think you know, and incidentally, they don't show that they know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so one came to a point of frustration.
Okay. I'm just wondering, sir, we're talking about the police here, the might of the Nigeria police. It looks like the entire force was looking for a particular witness. It's not as if his location was not known. He was abroad. I'm just wondering what the difficulty was in getting cooperation from your brother or sister forces or organizations, Interpol. Metropolitan Police, court subpoena. When the police want a person badly and they know where he is, they have their ways of reaching out. Well, what was the challenge in that area?
At that stage, Kayode was still just a suspect.
No, not even an eyewitness anymore.
No, we're suspecting, we're speculating that he could be. He could give us vital information to us solving the crime.
So he was your most important lead at the time?
Lead at that time. And there's no provision that if you have a witness in Switzerland, in New Zealand, wherever it is, that you just, because you are a member of the Interpol, you get Interpol to bring. No. If it's a convicted criminal, if it's a criminal that you have got abundant of evidence against, then you cannot start exploring using Interpol. But this wasn't the case.
Yes, even though it was a public murder, but it still wasn't. It hadn't gotten to the scale where, for example, assistance could be sought from Interpol.
No,
this is a thing that individual forces of their countries will have to handle on their own.
That's right.
And beyond asking him nicely, there's no other.
There's no other way of getting him in. No. And that's why we are appealing to the co-workers who knew about his movement to kindly produce him or advise him to show up the police, to clear his name. You're being invited by the police doesn't mean you are guilty, but just come and clear some areas of doubts.
You know, Your Grace, as a layman, just hearing this, and I thank you for sharing this, which must be on public record in certain quarters, but perhaps just everybody doesn't know it. It does appear as if, sitting here now, Mr. Kayode Soyinka was the cog in the wheel of resolving this case, and that if only he had made himself available, perhaps we might have had some sort of a resolution. Is that a fairly accurate assessment?
Yes, it is partially accurate, because supposing he came and said, oh no, I was not in the toilet, I was somewhere else, and this happened, then we could have focused our attention to another area.
I see. But sometimes, at least watching cable television and seeing how police operate, sometimes police have a number of leads. There might be one more important than another. Then they have those ones they call persons of interest. You know, so all of those kinds of things. Was the whole works brought to bear on this case at the time? Because we're talking about a case that went cold, and we're wondering, how did it go cold? Why did it go cold?
That was an aspect of the case in which I was interested. I wanted to investigate it, to look into it from that angle.
I see.
But my predecessor in office had done some beautiful work. He had done identification parade, in which he claimed, in which the report claimed that somebody who was a house help to a prominent woman in Nigeria was identified as being the one that carried the parcel bomb to the gate of Dele Giwa.
I see.
I was interested in that. So I was asked, well, then what happened to this man, sir? He said, well, there was telephone from somewhere that that lady is related to a top military brass that police should
Tread very gently.
Gently, and so they left the man. So I said, okay, well, if they left that man, let me pursue my angle. If I get something from it,
Yes.
then we can now marry them together.
Okay,
Unfortunately, my own angle also hit rocks. So there was nothing I could do there. But the other angle to me looked very, very suspicious.
That is the Mr. Kayode Soyinka
No,
angle.
no, no, no.
The angle of the woman.
The woman and the man, the house help, that was identified as being the person who brought the parcel to Dele Giwa's house.
Well, thank you very much, Your Grace, because you've given us an overview, brief. I know this is a very important and technical matter, and there must be copious notes on the matter, but you've sort of paraphrased it for us. Before I go to OK, I wonder if you think now, you've left the force now, you know the case, you know what happened, if now you think that for whatever reason, the entire the whole might of the police and of capabilities and all sorts of professionals are in there. I wonder if you think now that we didn't bring all of our weight to bear on resolving the case or pursuing the case or investigating the case as we might have for whatever reason.
One could see it from that angle, that all the might of the force was not brought to bear in the resolution of the matter under review, particularly when one looks at it from the angle of the identification parade, which is a very strong area, strong evidence in investigation.
Yes.
That area was sort of brushed aside because what I call external pressure.
Sure.
All right. That was a very vital area.
And in the environment and atmosphere we have today,
At that time,
today,
okay.
To continue like that would be thought of as business as usual. So it's not likely to happen today. In fact, probably it won't, is why we are having this idea that the president has ordered the reopening of some cold cases.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to open up some cold cases. As I said in one of the interviews I granted to your sister station, if the order is being given because justice wants to be shown to have been done or is going to be done, it's a beautiful idea.
Okay.
But if it's for political reasons, I would say it's of no use.
It wouldn't be of very much use.
No.
Even as you have said to us that back in the day when this cold case was fresh, there were aspects that some Nigerians would term political interference. If the police had been left to do their brass, hard, bare knuckles work, we would have made progress. But you did allude to suggestions that there might have been political interference back then.
And again, there were a lot of people who wanted to cash on the situation.
Cash in on the situation.
I give you an example. The IG then, Mr. Mohammed Gambo, phoned me on the hotline, Chris, I'm saying to you somebody who might believe will help in the lead to the investigation of Dele Giwa's murder. I said, fine. The man was brought in. He couldn't speak English, was speaking French. I don't understand French. I said, okay, what is it? He said, yeah. He said, I have a tape about murder, tape. I said, okay, fine. I got the tape, got somebody from Ministry of External Affairs, late lady Elizabeth, who came to, she listened to the tape. He said the tape is just talking about people discussing in a beer parlor about the murder in Nigeria and that this is not good enough, blah, blah. And that the man was wanting the Inspector General to give him some huge sum of money. So I said, after the lady had transcribed the thing, I called him and said, please tell him that you are a thief. He said, I said, you are a thief? Nothing in this tape shows or gives any evidence or any lead towards what we are pursuing.
I hear you, sir.
Then he looked he looked cold. I said, sorry, I'm not giving you anything. Go away.
But sometimes, if it is a genuine matter,
We could have followed it up.
the Nigeria police could follow these things up.
Yes.
Well, thank you for this general overview that we have. Okay, you probably understand why we had to stay with His Grace, because of vital information that, quite frankly, he only would know, apart from who had heard it from him. Now, there are aspects of the narration, as told to us by His Grace Chris Omaben, that there was interference at the time. Just about every Nigerian knew that you have a case like this, intrigue. The police, people don't know how well the police will do their work. The police can, this very Nigeria police we're talking about, we all know that they go abroad and represent the country and come back with flying colors. Everybody is speaking about the quality of the Nigeria police. But when we need ourselves at home, and I call the police ourselves, when we need ourselves at home, suddenly it's not as straightforward as that. The network on police reform in Nigeria that you are a member of, you've been looking at the reforms that you have been advocating would take care of a thing like this. And maybe you might start off by telling me how you feel about the announcement that the president wants the police to reopen cold cases, in particular Bola Ige and Dikibo.
Yeah, we at the level of the network on police reform in Nigeria, we welcomed the president's directive on the IG to reopen old cases. Because we and of course, just like everybody who has spoken has said, it goes beyond just Bola Ige, and there were cases before Bola Ige and cases after. We welcomed it because one of the things that have done serious damage to the image of the police and the integrity and even the reputation of the country generally is the inability of the police, the security agencies to resolve, because it is actually one of the cardinal obligations of the security police to effectively investigate every case of killing with a view to ensuring that there is justice. The victims are entitled to justice, the society is entitled to justice. And so it's an indictment not only on the criminal investigation, but also the entire criminal justice system, that people are killed and there's no answer.
They're walking free, there's no answer.
We welcomed it. But of course, we observed also that part of the reason is because a lot of these cases are politically motivated. And so there's always political interference in the process of investigation, which was why, although we welcomed it, we thought that in order to achieve justice, the best thing that the president needs to do is actually to set up a judicial panel of inquiry to look into these cases, to independently and impartially investigate these cases. I do not think that the police will be able to, as long as police remains under political control, as long as there is no evidence that investigative capabilities in the police have increased, the best option in our view is that the president should go further to set up a judicial panel of inquiry to look into these cases, so that the actual perpetrators. And of course, the other point we also need to note, and I want to say this in connection with the case of the private secretary to Adams Oshomole, Comrade Olaito, who was assassinated.
Yes.
You could see that the police and the DSS investigated this case and came up with two different but contradicting reports. They paraded two different sets of suspects. As a matter of fact, the police were found to have arrested the wrong person and used to implicate the wrong person. And of course, the court had to, even the Attorney General of Edo State came up to say that how can a certain gun, that was in police custody before this, this incident happened, be used to carry out that, that was what contained in the report of the, the director of public. So there was a lot of compromise, a lot of political interference. So, as far as we are concerned, while the directive of the president is welcome, we think that if the president really means to attain justice in this series of cases that have been, lingering, we need a judicial panel of inquiry to independently and impartially investigate them.
Your Grace, I wonder how you react to that idea that the police might not be able to self-regulate and do its work the way it can do it. I ask that because we are in a different dispensation now than we were before at that time. I wonder, I guess what I'm really asking is, do you think anything has changed in the police? Is the police today the police of those years, or do you have better faith? Because there is clear evidence of political interference, self-interest, partisanship, all of that is going on. Compromise, let the word be used, even compromise. And when you have a law enforcement arm like the police that you can't run to anybody, any ordinary person, you don't need to be a person, you can't run to with a sense of security that since you have managed to arrive here, thank God, the case will now be handled properly. And do you think we've arrived there yet, sir? Or are things very much the same?
It's a difficult question to answer, but I like to say this. In as much as I buy into the suggestion of my wonderful friend here, there's a question. The tag were placed on the police. Is that tag also not applicable to the judiciary? By the time you say you want a judicial commission of inquiry,
okay,
wouldn't that judge, who is a Nigerian, be influenced by the people who put him there also?
No,
just, you know what, I think we should go on a break. Let me go on a short break so that we can get that out of the way, and then we'll come back and we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. We have with us His Grace Reverend Chris Omeben, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, and now he's the Archbishop of Jesus Family Ministry Church. But thank God he's still with us, alert, and has a very, very keen recall of the incident. Your Grace, you dropped a whopper on us just before we went on break. Say, look, the implication of your response to my question was, which part of this society is not influenced by this corruption tag?
Yes.
And so you're saying that it can't just be the police. But the fact is, in the case of Dele Giwa, it never even got to court, I believe, as a result of investigation, because the courts cannot, a car needs fuel, it needs petrol. A court needs the police and its investigation for them to now adjudicate on the matter. Yes. But it never even got there.
Yes, but the Judicial Commission of Inquiry he suggested would still require all this evidence.
Yes.
If you go to the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, you need to call policemen, civilians who either saw, noticed, or had any knowledge.
And maybe at that judicial inquiry, maybe determinations can be made as to how good or whether a person is a witness of truth, because these will be experienced people that will be there.
Yes.
You know, when we talk about judicial, a panel of inquiry, it's not necessarily the courts, or the judiciary, but of course it could be headed by a serving or a retired judge, but with other Nigerians, eminent Nigerians of proven integrity.
Because you're looking for an independent, and if you say the word independent.
Yes, independent, and they are not going to have the type of inhibitions that the police will have. And I can give you an example. In 2000 you remember the Akpo killing? Those six Akpo, who were killed by the police and branded armed robbers. Armed robbers. You know what happened? Obasanjo set up a judicial panel of inquiry, which looked into that incident and came up for the first time in the history of Nigeria. This panel came up with recommendations, including asking the Nigerian police to openly apologize to those victims and their families. And
in other words, a wrong had been done. And otherwise, you don't apologize.
For the first time, the police apologized. For the first time, the Nigerian police paid compensation. For the first time, the Nigerian police charged police officers indicted for murder to court. What remains is for the prosecution of that case to reach its, So,
that is the degree of work that you are a bit concerned that the police themselves would be able to achieve.
Yeah, sure.
Your Grace, you identify with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So in that sense, this panel of inquiry, of course, it can help. Everything depends on the selection. Everything. I imagine like it's not just about that. And we're going to include your call. In fact, we already, have opened the lines. It's like the Super Eagles. That's the entity. That's the corporate name. A lot now depends on who peoples that team. So a panel of inquiry could be very, very, very carefully selected, be given a brief, and hopefully things can be done, because many people have, as you have said, many people have said that kudos, Mr. President, kudos this regime, but still, there are more people, and could you widen the scope of this? Many public people have spoken. Somebody else wants to join this conversation. Mr. Odede is calling in from Ikeja. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Have you got a question or observation?
I think opening these cases is quite a welcome development. Nigeria shall not continue to be run like we don't have value for human lives. Over the years, so many people have been assassinated and no headway were made in the investigation to unravel the assassinations. As long as maybe by the time investigation proceeds and it is discovered that somebody powerful might be behind or someone powerful might be implicated, the police will stylishly withdraw or model up the whole cases to ensure that the people get away with it. The same problem is what we had with Kudirat Abiola. The same problem is what we had with Alfred Wani. Quite a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
So it presents us like we are living in a jungle. And this cannot continue. It just cannot continue this way. So I will support this administration to go all up to try to see those who assassinated Bolaji, those who assassinated all these other people. No matter how highly placed the people that are being implicated are in the country, even if they are members of this present administration, they should. That is the only way we can discourage it. All this security, we should give up security, we should empower our security agency. Everything will come to naught as long as those who are implicated are not brought to book. Those who have been fingered in previous incidences are not brought to book. Then everything that we are trying to do with improving our security system will be a way.
Indeed.
There must be deterrence to crime.
Yes.
That's the only way to go forward. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much for calling in. Your Grace, as a former police officer, and now you are retired, you're a man of God, and you've put distance to it. I'm asking this question in the context of authors who write on matters that they went through, but require a certain interregnum before they can write with dispassion. So they say, that's what they say, the way it works with some authors. So you have something of that status. You've now put distance. God has been kind, and there is distance between it. All of that, what I'm trying to say is that this whole matter of the aspiration and yearning of the ordinary Nigerian, that the Nigeria police, every single Nigeria policeman is sworn to defend, you know, domestically, internally. There's always been this problem of people interfering and corrupting the policeman. Do you think that we could arrive through reform at a situation where we can look on the police and not worry unduly about corruption? And this is without prejudice to your remark that which part of this society is not affected by this blight. Because you were in there, the men are known to be professionals, but unfortunately there are commands and there are a few problems. Do you think you know in the organization that we should not give up, we should not be skeptical about the ability of the Nigeria police to do a good work if the conditions are right?
Well, if the conditions are right, Nigerian police stands in a very good position to give out what is employed to do. Well, I mentioned that one of the big problems with the Nigerian police is the fact that we are now, when I say we, because I belong to that family.
Yes.
It's a hybrid organization. We're neither British police nor American police. We're given the training, training with a British background, which was very good. When I was in service, I did a little research. Policing in the 4 Guineas, how I call it. Okay. Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, and what's the other 4? The 4 British colonies of West Africa. Yes. And I came
Ghana?
to, yes, Ghana. And I came to a conclusion, talking about armed robbery and all that. A lady came to interview me, and I said, listen, every armed robber wants to be alive to enjoy his loot. That is why they get armed. And I told my Inspector General, I said, if we can be bold enough, I know there'll be a few casualties to start with, let us disarm the police to the extent of the British standard.
Okay, okay.
The British police, they were never going about with Mark 4, right? I mean with AK-47.
No.
I trained in Britain, and I know what the arms they carry, small arms. But the moment you start getting these heavy arms, the robber who's coming to steal will try to outclass you
that's right.
in arming himself because he wants to be alive to enjoy his loot. But if you discourage, if you don't know that the police is not as armed as you are thinking, and they say legislation say that if you kill a policeman, this will be the penalty, the armed robber will say, oh, okay, that's okay.
Okay.
I was, after the interview with Citizens Jones, I was telling my wife, I said, there was a time I was DPO somewhere, there was robbery. I put my orderly in my car with my pistol only, and I drove after the robbers. They started my car and ran. But today, you do it. They will finish you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We have a caller, Yisa in Minna, Niger State. Thank you very much for holding on while His Grace was finishing his statement. Please go ahead now.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're waiting for you. Isa, please go ahead. Continue now.
Good morning. My name is Isa Lakan. I'm calling from Minna.
Your name's okay. Carry on, please. Go ahead.
You see, I'm so interested that, yes, I'm interested that you have a very senior police officer without discussion.
Retired.
Please, one, I will be very, very happy that if the police service commission could be able to go around the whole country and to see how the police barracks are, and to find out the police who have gone under service to this nation that were killed, and to see how their families were abandoned in the barracks. I think no any reasonable person will be happy to see the kind of light on how men who went to serve this country as the police were killed at the cost of service were abounded in the barracks.
Isa?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Are you therefore saying, because I'm trying to understand
Yes,
you,
I'm
that as a result of this unhappy situation, if police resort to self-help, you can understand, even if it compromises cases. Is that your direction?
I think he's talking about why police officers, their level of dedication is low. Their morale is low.
That's what I wanted him to sort of
I think
confirm.
that's
what we, the real stone in our shoe, so to speak, is that you can't take for granted that every policeman is disinterested in anything but the facts of the case. And that's what you really need. That would be the ideal situation. At least let us, aim for the sky. Maybe at least you'll touch the roof. That is what we can't take for granted, I don't believe, for now. The police, unfortunately, as we speak today, are used by civilians, by the public in all sorts of ways. In fact, the authorities in recent times have tried to, minimize that. You find forcible and questionable actions by people, especially in the land, all this whole land area, and you find that these people, even if you might think that what they're doing is not entirely, totally legal, they have a healthy retinue of policemen behind them. And you begin, if you're not in Nigeria, you begin to be concerned about how can this happen? How can the police just follow anybody who comes along and says, you know what, because I have the card from whoever, come along with me. There are even people who go further to say that upon showing some measure of, let us use the legal word now, consideration to the police, they are prepared to follow you now. None of this does us proud.
But you know why they do that?
Yes.
Because those VIPs they follow, pay them well. It augments their poor pay.
This is the problem. So that is where I think Isa was going, that when he said that go anywhere in this country, see the condition the police are living in. I think he was alluding to the fact that how can you expect these kind of people to be biased? How can you expect them not to resort to self-help to sort of make body and soul meet? But in the meantime, Mahmoud has called in from VI. Is that it? From Ikoyi. Good morning, Mr. Mahmoud.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yari.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Your efforts in your wonderful program.
Thank you.
Yeah, the thing is, conflict means a lot of prayers. I don't know, I don't think prayers, I think the revolution, that's just the whole thing. People should come out.
Well, if we need prayers, His grace is here for that.
Yeah.
We already have prayers.
People should come out to take to claim their rights. This kind of injustice has been going on, I think maybe even after independence. Service chiefs, people are heading organizations, money is voted year in, year out, nothing is done. Like in the case of police, and who told them to make the case of high profile because of those that are under in this country, those that are celebrated? Should the police, should the federal government get them to close it? Police are in of its own. No. The state is involved. It's high profile. Even if the police should not stop a murder case should not be closed. It continues, this is 100 years. So I'm surprised to hear the federal government say they should open some cases. Why the police are, well, may God save us in this country. And the corruption. Those who are hell-bent on money, like this change you are even talking of, Mr. Yori, we felt that this change, everything that is in the old order should come to the new. People, executives riding on 7-10 cars, governors to security votes. Why people they are not paying for that? Why should governors be paying security votes? Sorry to digress to another business.
I understand.
Security votes for what?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Did you conclude? I'm sorry. Thank you very much for calling in. You know, everybody is worried about the police, and especially, and you know, Your Grace, it's like the police are, quote unquote, even-handed in the situation, by which I mean that there are other aspects. I was just saying that in an ideal case scenario, you expect that if you have managed to run into a police station, you have initial succor. That, from now they will ask how the matter be, and then but you know that in Nigeria it often is whoever gets there first, and whoever is able to put the better consideration, I'm using the word advisedly, down, is likely to get ahead of the case. When I said police are behaving sort of even-handedly, even where policemen are killed, it's not as if they pursue this necessarily all the time to a logical conclusion, whereas we hear about other jurisdictions where the worst thing you can do, the mafia, one of the highest and most organized criminal families in the world, they fear the police, they fear killing the police. Whenever they're going about whatever they are going about, carrying on as if they have the power of life and death, we hear stories that, however, the worst thing you can do, any foot soldier, is to kill a police, because the entire force will, as it were, come down on that, for the moment, leave hold of the main body of the case till they get hold of that person who killed one of their own. I'm not sure it works like that in Nigeria, and these are part of the problems. Then complicating matters for us, sir. Look at the case of the Attorney General that was murdered, Bola Ige. One of the suspects in the case that was initially in custody, as Nigeria all knows now, infamously, the man somehow found his way out, was able to conduct and win an election, and subsequently sit in a lawmaking body. There are Nigerians that are still scratching their head over that one. These are the kind of situations. Is that the police of yesteryears? Or is it very much the police we still have on our hands now? No,
the police of yesteryears couldn't have done that. I always point out something that has made the police to lose its color in a way. We have a tradition in the police. I was a barrack boy. My father was a policeman. And I grew up in the barracks when the white men were still around. And there's a police tradition. The tradition of the police made the policeman to hold his head high. Will do things the way the British taught them to do them. That's right. But it came to a time that the military imposed their tradition on the police.
That's right.
When the military imposed their tradition on the police, which is still on now, things changed.
When you say their tradition, the army tradition?
The army tradition. I'll give you an example. In the army, a cos one man may be head of an organization. If he's retired, everybody in that corps will be retired. That was not the pattern in the police.
I see.
The police, you retire according to your age grade or when you join the force. But when it came to our time in 1989, because the military didn't want a particular person to be IG,
I see.
They retired a whole lot of us. And the other said, if this is the case, these people, at the time I retired, I had 4,000 naira in my bank account. DIG, 4,000 naira in my bank account. And the question was, if this can happen to the DIG, why must I live a straight life?
Kill myself.
Why must I kill myself? And decide doing it the way they wanted it. I give an example. Somebody who was my ADC in the police, I've retired, I was in the ministry. A church member had some problem and was in the police station. So I decided to go there to go and say, boy, please leave this chap. I know this guy very well. I got there, they said, are you on appointment? I said, no, I'm not, but I want to see the DCO. I entered, they said, okay, may we know you, sir? I said, I'm Reverend Meben. The name didn't ring any bell.
It didn't ring a bell. Such is the situation.
I went to the young officer's office, who was my ADC. He was busy counting money. I said, Mister, what's happening? He said, oh God, things don't change. Things don't change.
That was the serving police officer.
That was the serving police officer.
He knew who you are.
Yes.
But it just shows the level to which we have descended.
They have degraded the force. So it is that.
And police, there is no reason for a DPA to be counting money.
No.
There's no aspect of police work that could explain that.
No.
So these are the kind of challenges that we have, that and that that we still have to confront in arriving. For instance, let me just say this, sir.
Yes.
After the cheering news that the president had ordered the police to reopen those cold cases, then one of the papers this morning, in fact, I have it in front of me, the Daily Sun is saying on its front page, we have no order to reopen Bola Ige's case, police. So here we go again. Contradictory signals.
Yes.
Well,
What? Go on.
well, you know, talking about the
Sorry, there's someone who's been holding on. Yakub, good morning, and thank you for holding on all that while.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for holding
Very
on.
good morning to the old man and the gentleman in the studio.
Reverend Omoben. Reverend Omoben. Never mind old or young man.
Good morning, sir.
Or just His Grace.
Yeah, let me be brief because of the time. You see, Chibiori, this reopen of this assassination cases, if very asymptomatic, will go nowhere. For one reason. The reason is this. The kind of prosecution and investigation team that we have in this country, it is not like the other developed countries. Why is it that? The reason is not far-fetched. There is no a good atmosphere for the Nigerian police and the investigation team to work. The other countries developed than this country, they have CCTV all over their country. Where is this country? No, there's no how. The former Attorney General of the Federation who got killed, there's no traces. Even the traces is a political killing. When you find out it's a political killing, I want to use our language now. Meanwhile, I know that you understand it. They say that Saba Fagu, Gura Fago, is a political killing because they know that when they begin the investigation, it's going to lead them to some hierarchy people. That is why they will. Okay, let me give you another example. Quickly. The police, one time ago, I think in Zamfara or Plateau State, almost 73 police people got killed. And then the same police officer, I think the DSS officer then, came out and said they forgive the people that killed almost 75 police officers.
Yeah.
Okay, today, the question now is that, where are those family of those police people that got killed? What is...
Okay, Yakub, thank you very much. But because we've run out of time and we still had to take you, we had to truncate it there. But I understand what you're saying, and he is not, it's clear, Yakub is not too optimistic, yet we must not lose hope. We must not give up hope.
That's right.
In fact, there are those who were saying that the whole war against corruption was not worth beginning because the case was so bad. You know, there are still people who are saying that, but they're saying that nevertheless, we have to start somewhere. And in this case, as reforms are ongoing in the police, and as this order has come from the presidency that please reopen all those cases that have gone cold, because they're important and they affect our reputation, one can understand it. So a lot of kudos. But we also are mindful of the things that you have also said to us as we keep our fingers crossed. And we just hope that if the paper this morning say that we haven't got any order to reopen Bola Ige's police, Bola Ige's case, and the police don't work off news stories on front of newspapers, we can understand that. We're just going to have to leave it here for now. We had to bring it to the ears of our viewers. I want to thank you very, very much, Your Grace, Reverend Chris Omeben.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. May God continue to strengthen you.
Amen. You too.
And thank you very much, sir. Retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, founder of Archbishop Jesus Family Ministry Church International. And also, thank you very much, Okechukwu Mwaguma, National Coordinator of NOPRIN. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.